figure out, okay, where's the post office at in this town? And knowing if I turned it into the hotel that they would be able to send it off for me. And I did that twice, I think, maybe once, and I beat the letter home. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, did you get your letter?
What letter?
Yeah. I was like, oh, it'll be here 2 days. But it's almost like it frustrates me because I want to carry on those tradition, but with the cell phone, it's so easy just to send a text and say, hey, how are you doing? This is what the weather's like here. It's 7 o'clock and the sun's setting.
Mm-hmm. Here's a picture.
And here's a picture, yeah. And I can just snap a picture.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't have to describe it in a letter that's not going to get to you until 2 days after I'm home.
Right.
There's that.
Yeah, and I think that greeting cards are also going kind of the way of the past. I know that those used to be so important to me when I was a kid. You get a greeting card, especially in the mail.
A postcard. Or...
You get anything with your name on it in the mail, and it was amazing.
Good. I'll switch all the bills to your name now.
I get them anyway. But, you know, as a kid, it's just spectacular. I know that when we moved here, I remember sending the grandkids Halloween cards that I had made. And some of them didn't even understand why the heck is she doing this? And it didn't last long because they just didn't care.
Mama, why did Mama send me this?
Why didn't she just hand it to me?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is a lot of things that are just kind of fallen to the past.
You know, we talk about time traveling or nostalgic. One of the things that I think about all the time is when we were in Tennessee, we moved from Chicago at age 13 and moved to Tennessee. And so the way we kept in contact was writing letters or collect calls. Every week we'd sit down and write Aunt Joanne and Uncle Ted or my dad a letter. We could not wait to get one back. Mm-hmm. And to this day, Aunt Joanne and Uncle Ted would always write at the end, love you bunches, you know, mm-hmm. Aunt Joanne and Uncle Ted. I make it a point that every single time I send an email to Aunt Joanne, I always put at the end, love you bunches. And I know that when she sees that, to her, it takes her back to...
It's acknowledging the past where she did that for you.
Yep. And every letter... Now, to say that I have one of those letters, I probably don't. I might if I dug deep enough, but, you know, I just remember that. And I know that when she gets that email, because she emails us now, as every once in a while she'll write a letter, but I think she looks for that love you bunches at the end. Another thing that takes us back is music. Mm-hmm. Music is, I think, the number one trigger for a lot of people that as soon as they hear something on the radio or on TV, it takes them right back to that moment of standing where they were standing at this particular time.
I mean, think about it. Doesn't matter who you are. If a song from your childhood or from when you were a teenager comes on the radio, you know the words to that song.
Well, you think you know the words to that song.
But it comes right back to you. You may not remember your phone number because with mobile phones, I mean, you really don't have to remember what your own phone number is, just what everyone else's is. But you're going to remember the words to those songs. You know, not only does music do that, but I think that certain smells do that too.
Oh, of course.
One of my favorite smells, and it's a little odd, is Vicks Vapor Rub. That takes me back to when my mom was caring for me when I was sick, when I didn't feel good. And so now today, that is a comfort smell to me. If I'm feeling a little bit like I'm catching a cold, or if I'm just feeling down a little bit, it doesn't take much to... I smell that and I feel better. It makes me feel comforted. Vicks Vapor Rub. And I know one for you.
What's
one
that?
Of your favorite smells is something I will never understand, is gasoline.
Oh, yeah.
And when you smell gasoline, what does it do?
Gasoline makes me hungry. The smell of gasoline makes me hungry. But it does. It takes me back. Actually, gasoline and grease. If I smell a certain grease...
Like oil?
It's a grease. When I smell a certain type of grease, it takes me back to Bridgeview, Illinois, and in the hot summer around all the cat equipment. Caterpillar equipment.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's a special type of grease. I know that sounds crazy, but those smells, I can smell it every so often, depending on where I'm at, and it'll just instantly, like an old song, take me right back to that spot in the summertime as a little kid.
Yep.
You know, and I think we all have those little triggers that happen to us as we're moving so quickly in life, and the rat race, and then all of a sudden this one smell or this one song just stops us dead in our tracks.
Yeah, and I think it's important to stop. I think it's good for you to stop and slow down a minute and think about it.
I think so too. I think it's really important that you take those times and I think that's important as we get older. I notice that more as we're getting older and the grandkids are here, or the girls are over doing something. You're like, whoa, they do not need us anymore.
Right.
You know, so when the grandkids are over, I tend to really soak up every ounce of time that I can get with them. I don't take it for granted. I took some of those times with the girls for granted. Now I realize as I'm watching them move about their lives that, hey, yeah, I've tried to teach them the right way and tried to do the right things, and you know, we're all not perfect, and we did some really cool things and not some cool things. But with the grandkids, it's like you get a chance to really stop and smell the roses.
Yes, and it's amazing. And it's something that as parents, you're not, I think that's one of the reasons that everyone says having grandchildren is so totally different than having children.
Right.
Sorry. I think that you can capture the little moments because you take time out and you give them undivided attention and you try to absorb everything that's going on, because when you were a parent, you were in the moment. You weren't thinking about, oh, I need to remember this because this is something big. It was like you took pictures to try to remember those moments, but you were in the moment. You had to take care of them. You had to work. You had to, whatever your responsibilities were, you had to complete them. So then when you have grandchildren, you get to slow down.
And smell the roses.
That's right. And I think that's why grandchildren and grandparents have a good relationship for the most part. Yeah. Because they did that together. And they remember that. Not to take away from parents, but I know that my Grandma Jo was my favorite person in the world. She was when I was a little girl, and she still is today.
Now, the girls or the parents are living in the way that we lived, and their number one priority is work and taking care of all the needs and essentials, whereas we get to do the fun things now. You know, we're not so, of course, we are concerned about their well-being and things of that sort, but candy and soda and, you know, watching what they take and what they do. But at the end of the day, we're just having fun with them.
Right.
And so we get to snapshot that every second of time we have together with them.
I think it's very important. And I think, you know, I was told once that everything old becomes new again. And I never understood it until this time in our lives when we're looking at things that happen. And it does kind of repeat.
Oh,
it looks a little different, but it does repeat. I mean, look how everything old now is not called old anymore or even antique much anymore. It's called vintage.
Right.
And it's cool.
Yeah.
So I think that you and I, Mike, as grandparents, I am stating right now, we are not old. We are vintage.
Yeah.
And we are cool.
Oh, sure. Even our 5-year-old knows we're not cool.
We're cool. If we keep telling them and we keep saying it enough, we'll all believe it.
Yeah, or if we change what cool is, if cool means...
I don't even know if they say cool anymore.
Yeah, you sit in the chair in the rocker and say, I can't get down on the floor.
Or every time you try to move, you hear a creak and a pop. And
yeah, and so I don't know who you're not calling old, but I'm old.
I'm vintage.
That's right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We hope that this episode takes you back. I hope that while you're listening to this message today, that you stop and smell those roses and you think about something back when that made you smile and takes you back and makes you think how lucky you were at that time in your life. We want to thank you all for continuing to support us at Everyday Ricochet.
And let us know. Give us some comments. We want to know that you're out there. And let us know the things that you think about when you want to feel nostalgic.
Yeah, you can do that on our webpage, www.everydayricochet.com. You can follow us on Instagram at instagram.com/everydayricochet. I know we say this a lot, but we do encourage you guys to write us and give us show ideas and just give us your views of what you think. We love hearing from you guys. So please keep those coming and have a great week. Thank you for joining us on Everyday Ricochet. And remember,
it's a good day for a great day.
Bye, guys.